The DMV was already a pressure cooker that morning. Every breath in that stale, over-air-conditioned building felt like inhaling the frustration of 100 sleepless people. The low buzz of fluorescent lights overhead mixed with the occasional huff, sniffle, or the plastic slap of paperwork hitting the linoleum counter. A baby cried softly in the corner. Somewhere behind me, a man coughed 3 times in a row and muttered something about losing half his day. The line inched forward grudgingly like a traffic jam with no hope. I was off duty. No badge, no uniform. Just a navy hoodie, jeans, and sneakers. For once, I was invisible, and I liked it that way. No one asked questions. No one stared. I was just another guy trying to renew his license, quietly sipping from a bitter vending machine coffee that had the distinct flavor of cardboard and regret. In front of me, a tired woman rocked her baby in one arm and scrolled on her phone with the other. An elderly man leaned against a walking cane, his eyes shut, swaying slightly as if the weight of waiting had bent his spine just a little more. Everyone was locked in their own personal purgatory, bound together by the shared understanding that this hell was temporary. And then she walked in. The glass doors whooshed open with a hiss, and the first thing I noticed was the perfume. Sharp, artificial, the kind that lingered long after its owner had left, like the scent itself didn't want to be associated with her. Then came the heels, sharp, fast clicks slicing through the dull murmur like gunshots. She strutted inside like she'd been summoned, like the building existed purely for her benefit. She didn't look at the line. She didn't even acknowledge. In she marched straight to the front desk, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose like a trophy. Her platinum blonde bob bounced with each step. A Louis Vuitton bag swung from her arm, though from the stitching I'd bet it was a convincing. "Knock off. I need to be seen now," she announced, slapping a stack of papers on the counter. "I have a meeting in 20 minutes and I don't have time to waste." The clerk behind the glass, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and the weariness of someone who'd been yelled at one too many times, blinked. "Ma'am, you'll need to take a number and wait in line like everyone else." Karen, that's what I'd be calling her before the day was over, let out a high-pitched scoff. "No, I don't think you understand. I can't wait. This is a matter of urgency. I was told by someone at City Hall that I could walk right in. Do you want me to call them?" A hush fell over the room. The old man opened one eye. The mom with the baby stopped rocking. Even the vending machine went quiet. The clerk stayed calm. "Everyone here has been waiting, ma'am. You'll need to—" Karen cut her off. "Unbelievable. You people are all the same. Lazy, incompetent. I pay your salary. You know that?" My jaw tensed. I took a slow sip of the bad coffee to keep from saying something. Karen turned on her heel, facing the line for the first time, scanning the faces with open contempt. "What? Are you all okay with this? Just sitting around wasting time? This whole system is broken." She started walking, down the line inspecting people like cattle. When she passed the old man, she wrinkled her nose and muttered, "Oh." She glanced at the baby and frowned. Can someone shut that thing up, honestly? That was it. I stepped forward. "Ma'am," I said, voice calm but firm. "You need to go to the back of the line like the rest of us. You're not special." She looked me up and down, slowly, like I was something she scraped off her shoe. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. No one here is trying to waste your time, but we're all playing by the same rules. Back of the line." She tilted her head. "Who do you think you are, some wannabe hero? Are you trying to impress someone?" "No," I said. "Just trying to restore a little order." She laughed, loud and grating. "Oh, I see. You're one of those. What, did your little ego get bruised because a woman walked ahead of you?" The baby started crying again. Karen turned sharply toward the mother. "Seriously, do you mind? That noise is giving me a migraine." The mother looked away, jaw tight, trying not to cry herself. The old man took a slow step forward and whispered, "Miss, please, we've been here a long time. Just don't make this harder than it needs to be." Karen snapped, "Save your breath, Grandpa." I felt the heat rising in my chest. I dealt with all kinds, career criminals, drunk drivers, hot-headed teens. But there was something uniquely insufferable about people like her. The kind who believed rules were for everyone else. The kind who used the world like a stepping stone and sneered at anyone who got in their way. I opened my mouth to say more, but the clerk interjected. "Sir, it's okay, I've called for security." Karen scoffed again, louder this time. "Security? For me? You've got to be kidding. I could buy this whole building and turn it into a nail salon. I will be speaking to your supervisor. This is harassment." "Only if you keep escalating," I said. "You've already insulted staff and harassed at least 2 people in line. You keep going and you'll be breaking laws, not just etiquette." Karen turned to me again, eyes narrowing. "You threatening me now? Who even are you?" I smiled, faintly. "Just someone who believes in consequences." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever, I'll be out of here before your number even gets called." She turned away, completely unbothered, and leaned over the counter again, tapping her acrylics impatiently. The clerk looked at me, eyebrows raised. I gave a small shake of the head. "Not yet." I stepped back into line, sipping the last of my cold coffee. My heart was pounding, not from fear but from restraint. Let her dig the hole deeper, let her think she'd won. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Karen wasn't just content with cutting the line. She needed everyone to know she was better than them. She was putting on a show now, feeding off the attention, savoring each indignant gasp as if applause. It was theater to her. The line had become her stage. She leaned dramatically on the counter, sighing loudly, tossing her hair over her shoulder. When the clerk tried again to explain the process, Karen cut her off with a raised hand. "Sweetheart, I've already told you I don't do lines. Maybe that's how you spend your life, but I have more important things to do." A soft murmur spread through the room. People were filming now. A young guy 2 rows back had his phone angled discreetly, recording. Even the elderly man, whose face had been blank before, was watching intently, his eyes narrowing behind thick glasses. Karen turned suddenly and pointed to the mother with the crying baby. "Why is she even here? Can't she take care of that thing at home? I mean, this isn't a daycare." The mother flinched. "He's teething. I'm just trying to get my registration renewed." Karen laughed, a sharp, humorless bark. "Not my problem. You people expect the rest of us to cater to your chaos. Maybe if you had your life together, you wouldn't need to drag your screaming spawn into public." The mother blinked rapidly. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. The baby, perhaps, sensing the tension, went quiet. I clenched my jaw. The last ounce of patience in the room was thinning fast. My fingers twitched at my side, instinctively reaching for a badge I wasn't wearing. But no. Not yet. If I stepped in now, it would be over too quickly. She'd get angry. She'd maybe even get escorted out, but she'd walk away with nothing. More than a bruised ego. That wasn't enough. Not for someone like her. I needed her to expose herself completely. Karen was pacing now, muttering under her breath. "I don't have time for this. I should have just called David. He would have had someone meet me outside." She glanced at her phone and scowled. "Ugh, no signal in this dump." She turned to the room again. "You know, I've met the mayor. I'm friends with people in high places. None of you would even understand what that's like." She made eye contact with a teenager in a hoodie and sneered. "You look like you've never paid a bill in your life." The boy blinked, stunned. "I'm just here to take my driver's test." Karen threw up her hands. "Exactly. And here I am, an adult with actual responsibilities, being treated like some peasant." The DMV clerk's patience, too, was cracking. "Ma'am, if you continue disrupting the room, I will have to involve security." Karen turned her full attention back to the clerk. "You think I'm scared of your little mall cop?" she hissed. "Go ahead, call him. I'll be done, and gone before he even finds the keys to his little toy badge." And that was the moment. I stepped away from the line, slowly, casually, and walked toward the side of the room where the DMV manager had been standing quietly, half hidden behind a frosted partition. She'd been watching everything, a mixture of disbelief and helplessness on her face. I leaned in and said quietly, "I'm a state trooper, off duty, but I'm willing to step in if she crosses the line any further." The manager's eyes widened, then softened with relief. "She's been here before," she whispered. "Always a problem, threats, complaints, never anything we can hold her on." "She's working her way towards something we can hold her on," I said. "Let's just give her a little more rope." Karen's voice echoed from across the room. "Unbelievable. You people are a joke. Where's your supervisor? I want her." "Name? Your name. This is going on Yelp. Better yet, my cousin's a lawyer. We'll see how funny this is in court." She slammed a clipboard off the counter in frustration, sending papers flying. It clattered to the floor, and for the first time people in line gasped audibly. The clerk stepped back. The air grew sharp. I stepped forward again, approaching the front of the room, still calm, still measured. "Ma'am," I said clearly, "you're now interfering with a government operation. That's not a customer service issue, it's a criminal one." Karen spun toward me, eyes wild. "Oh, what now? Are you going to arrest me for complaining? Who do you think you are, some kind of hall monitor?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her, let the silence hang there. That unnerved her more than anything. She faltered for half a second, then snapped back, louder than before. "I have rights. You can't just threaten people because you're in a bad mood. What are you, a failed cop with a god complex?" She stepped closer, squaring up like she was preparing for a fight she didn't understand. "Touch me and I swear I'll sue you into next week. You don't scare me." I didn't move, I didn't have to. She was doing it all by herself, and then, perfect timing, the glass door opened again and a uniformed officer stepped inside, alerted quietly by the DMV manager. Karen's head jerked toward him. Her posture stiffened. "Oh, what you called?" "Back up," she said, the edge in her voice cracking. For me, wow, this is actually hilarious. But she wasn't laughing anymore. I caught her eye one last time and offered a small, unreadable smile. "It's funny, all right." The crowd watched, silent and waiting. The energy in the room had shifted. They could feel it. Something was about to happen. The performance was over. Now came the reckoning. Karen's eyes flicked from the officer to me, narrowing with a mix of disbelief and simmering rage. Her mouth opened, but no words came out at first, only a tight gasp of frustration. The room was on edge, waiting, like everyone knew this moment. Could go either way. The officer, a tall, lean man in his 30s, surveyed the situation in an instant. He wasn't quick to speak, just standing there, hands casually at his sides, taking in the chaos. His presence was calm but unwavering. He was the kind of person who could stand at the center of a storm and look like he was having a quiet cup of coffee. "Ma'am," he said, his voice smooth but firm. "What's going on here?" Karen immediately shifted tactics. She plastered a fake, exaggerated smile on her face, her posture straightening as if she were suddenly an ambassador of dignity. "Thank God you're here. I've been trying to explain to these people," she waved a hand at the line behind her, "that I'm important and they just don't get it." The officer's eyes remained on her, unblinking. "You're disrupting the peace in a government building, ma'am. You need to calm down." She let out a high-pitched laugh, a sound that grated on everyone's nerves. "Calm down? You want me to calm down when I'm being harassed? I pay taxes in this state. Do you know who I am? I don't have to wait in line like some commoner." The officer didn't react to her theatrics. "I don't care who you are," he said, voice dropping lower, steady. "What I care about is that you're making a scene. I'm going to ask you to step aside and wait your turn." Step aside. Her face turned red, and for a brief moment, I could see the glint of panic in her eyes. "Do you know who I am? I don't wait. Do you understand? You're about to be escorted out of here if you don't comply." The officer cut in, his tone hardening. He stepped closer. To her, no longer the passive observer, but the authority. I saw it then, the crack in Karen's armor. She wasn't as confident as she'd appeared moments before. She was starting to realize that this wasn't the high school popularity contest she had hoped it would be. This wasn't a space where she could command the room and have everyone bend to her will. There were rules here, and someone was finally calling her out on them. Her shoulders stiffened and she blinked, clearly taken aback. Her mouth opened and closed several times, but the words didn't come. She glanced briefly at the clerk behind the counter, as if seeking an ally. But the clerk wasn't even looking her way anymore. She was busy helping the next person in line, her face set in a mask of practiced neutrality. "Ma'am," the officer continued, "I'm asking you to leave now." Karen's lips curled, her pride battling with her fear. She glanced around the room, seeing the eyes on her. A few people were openly recording, and I caught the glint of the teenager's phone screen from the corner of my eye. Her face shifted, flickering with recognition. She realized she was no longer in control of the narrative. A small, almost imperceptible shift occurred in her posture, less defiance, more calculation. She wasn't done yet. Her voice lowered and a cold smile crept across her face. "You think this is over?" she sneered. "You think I'll just walk away like some nobody?" The officer didn't respond, merely waiting for her to make the next move. But it was clear he wasn't intimidated, and that was enough to shake her resolve. "I will be getting in touch with my lawyer," she continued, this time with more venom. "Do you have any idea who I know? I can make—" "Sure you never work another day in your life, officer. You'll regret this." I saw the officer's lip twitch. For a split second I thought he might laugh. Instead, he simply spoke again, his voice almost too calm to be believed. "Ma'am, you're trespassing at this point. If you don't leave, you will be arrested for disturbing the peace." I could feel the collective tension building. The room was quiet now, all eyes on the exchange. People leaned in, waiting for the moment when Karen would either back down or escalate further. It was a standoff, and I knew from the way her eyes darted around that Karen was realizing something. She wasn't going to get out of this without consequence. Her fingers twitched, and she seemed to make a decision. Her back straightened, and she turned her head toward the door, strutting like she had won, like she had been humiliated, but had somehow found a way to save face. She took one step forward, then paused. "Fine," she said, her voice suddenly icy. "I'll leave. But this isn't over." She threw a look over her shoulder. "You'll regret this." The officer didn't move. He just stood there watching her leave. His hand was on his radio, but he wasn't calling for backup yet. He was waiting for her to make the next mistake, the one that would seal her fate. And Karen, never one to back down from a fight she thought she could win, turned again, moving toward the door, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. She stopped just before reaching the exit, spun around, and made one final desperate attempt. "You'll all hear from me," she shouted, her voice breaking, the confidence now gone, replaced by something darker. "I'm not leaving until I've spoken to someone in charge. This isn't how you treat a customer. You'll see what happens when I'm done with you." The officer didn't flinch. He took a step forward, and his voice was low and final. "You're trespassing now. If you don't leave, you will be arrested." Karen's eyes flashed with a mixture of rage and fear. She opened her mouth to scream again, but stopped. I could see the calculation happening behind her eyes, the moment when she realized the game was over. She turned and walked out of the door, this time without hesitation. The heavy silence that followed her exit was deafening. The officer stood still for a moment longer, then nodded toward the clerk, signaling that the situation was handled. He turned and walked out of the DMV, disappearing as quickly as he had appeared. The tension lifted almost immediately, but the air still felt thick, like the room was recovering from a storm. I stepped back into the line, my gaze following Karen's retreating figure, now standing at the entrance, fumbling with her phone in a last-ditch effort to salvage her pride. But it was too late. I could already hear the whispers starting. The recording was making the rounds. The moment Karen stepped out of the DMV, she thought she had won. She was a master at spinning a situation, at crafting an image of victory no matter how much she had been humiliated. But this time, it wasn't going to work the way it always did. She had underestimated what was happening. The power had shifted. The video was already out there. She was about to find that out the hard way. I took my time, letting the echoes of the room settle around me. The clerk behind the counter, now visibly relieved, continued processing the next customer as if nothing had happened. The tension in the air dissipated quickly, but there was something else, something charged, like the last flickers of a lightning storm. The next few hours passed without incident. The line moved steadily, and I focused on the task at hand, letting the finality of Karen's departure marinate in the background. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't done with me. I knew her type. Once someone like her realized they'd been publicly exposed, the reaction was usually the same. A fierce need for revenge, a last desperate attempt to claw back whatever semblance of power they thought they had. Sure enough, as the day wore on, my phone buzzed with an alert. My heart skipped a beat. It was a text from an unknown number. "You'll pay for this. I'm not done with you. You'll see." It was a simple message, but it sent a cold shiver down my spine. It wasn't the first time someone had threatened me, but something about the tone, the underlying desperation, made it feel different, more personal. Karen wasn't just angry. She was humiliated. And for her, that was an unforgivable sin. Went about my business for the next few hours, pretending not to notice the growing storm that was beginning to gather around her. By the time I left the DMV, I was already getting notifications. People were sharing the video. It was spreading like wildfire. It wasn't the clip of her yelling, her ugly outbursts, or even the way she had shoved people aside. No, it was the final moment. The one when she was forced to leave. Her face, red with rage and failure, was caught in perfect clarity as she turned to the officer, her voice cracking under the weight of her ego. That image? It was a nightmare for Karen. It was everything she despised about being exposed as powerless. The video was everywhere now, the comments piling in, each one sharper than the last. Karen had tried to turn the narrative into her own, but this was a reality she couldn't deny. And the internet? It was unforgiving. I pulled into my driveway later that evening, trying to shake off the sense of anticipation. But something told me this was far from over. I sat in my car for a moment, glancing at the screen of my phone. The comments were brutal, but they were only the beginning. As I read through them, one comment stood out. Who's the real villain here? The Karen or the off-duty cop who just couldn't let her have her moment? It was a subtle jab, but it was enough to remind me. People loved to pick sides. Some would always see her as the victim, others would see me as the hero. But the real story, the one I'd been waiting for, was still unfolding. I stepped out of the car, locking it behind me, but before I could get to the door, my phone rang. Unknown number. My stomach tightened as I answered. "Hello?" It was her voice. Karen. Her anger was thick, but there was something new in it. Something colder. "You think you've won, don't you?" she sneered. "You think you've humiliated me enough, but you're wrong. You haven't seen anything yet." I could hear the ragged edges in her voice, the sharpness of her breathing as if she were pacing. There was something manic about. "Karen," I said, leaning back against the doorframe, "this isn't the way you want to play this. You've made your point. Just let it go." "Let it go?" She laughed, but it was empty, hollow. "You have no idea what you've done. I will make you regret this. Your little stunt at the DMV, it's going viral for all the wrong reasons. And I'm going to make sure your life is a mess by the time I'm done." The phone call ended abruptly, her words hanging in the air like smoke. I stood there for a moment, staring at the screen, unsure of what to make of it. Was she bluffing? Or was this just the beginning of her retaliation? Then, like a punch to the gut, my phone buzzed again. Another alert. I opened it immediately, my fingers trembling as I read the message. "The video you posted has been flagged." A feeling of dread gripped me as I clicked through. There it was. Her personal attack, a blog post written by Karen herself, detailing how an officer had assaulted her dignity, how I had publicly humiliated her in front of everyone, ruining her reputation. The post was filled with venomous claims, spun into a web of lies designed to turn people against me. She was playing the victim, and she was good at it. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. She wasn't going to let this go, but that didn't mean she would win. Not this time. I spent the rest of the evening putting together my own strategy, quietly gathering evidence, pulling together the truth before the lies could spread too far. It was time to fight back. This wasn't just about one incident anymore. This was about keeping control of my narrative, too. The following morning, the confrontation was inevitable. Karen's smear campaign was gaining traction, but I wasn't going to let her define the story. Not this time. I pulled up the DMV video on my phone, watched the replay. As Karen's face contorted with rage as she floundered, tried to regain her power, I couldn't help but smile. This time I had the upper hand. The internet didn't forget. And now neither would Karen. The truth had a way of surfacing in ways people like her couldn't control. I was ready.